Okay, so we will get on with our agenda. Mr. Hilton, you have a student here that we'd very much like to meet. And if you could introduce your student, and then Mrs. Anderson will put a picture of the flag up on the screen. And as soon as you see the flag, feel free to begin the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hilton?
Welcome, prestigious board members and others. It is my pleasure to introduce a sixth grader today, Lee Gutierrez Solis. So without further ado, Lee.
Hello, good afternoon. Would you like to please join me for the okay, yeah, sorry. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
They may have questions.
Oh, no.
Oh, there's no doubt we'll have questions for you, Lee.
Cool. Okay.
But it's not a quiz.
Oh.
So, yeah. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful pledge, and we very much enjoy the opportunity to hear from our students as they lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at our meetings. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I would absolutely love to. I am Lee. I go by they, them pronouns. My favorite particular subject is ELA. I am currently in a few after-school classes, and I really enjoy being here with you today.
Thank you, Lee. I'm going to ask the board members to express their thanks to you as well for being here, and they may have a question or two, okay?
Of course. Thank you.
Okay. Reverend Davis, do you want to start?
Yes, I would love to start. Hello, Lee. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking.
That's good. I'm Pastor Davis, and I've seen you around Washington when I come visit. What's your favorite subject?
My favorite subject in particular is ELA, though social studies is a very close second.
All right. ELA and social studies is a good combination, and I know you're doing great work. Continue the great work, and I'll be seeing you around. Keep up the great work, Lee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Raymond, would you like to continue?
Yes, Lee. My name is Raymond. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for your leadership. We appreciate it. Just wondering, have you thought about, I know it might be a ways away, but have you thought about the future in terms of college, where you want to go, what you want to study?
Yes, I have, in fact. My entire plan is to go to a 4-year college over in Sacramento and then take forth as my job as a therapist.
Nice. Like a mental health therapist, counseling?
Mental health therapist, yes.
All right. Yeah, there's a great need for that. And you're to be commended for wanting to do that to help others. So you must have a big heart, right? A heart for others and to serve others. So that's awesome. And thank you once again. And it's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Norm, would you like to continue?
Absolutely. Welcome, Lee. You and I have a couple things in common. My middle name is Lee, and my career has been in counseling. So I'm glad to see young, energetic people heading into that field. And it's a lot of rewards in that field and a lot of challenges. So I wish you well in your future. What's one of your favorite books to read?
One of my favorite books to read is actually Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to check it out. And thanks again for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Lee, you said you wanted to go to college in Sacramento. Which college or university are you looking at?
I have not found a particular college that I am interested in just yet. Though that is quite far away, and I think I'll start looking at in around 8th grade.
Uh-huh. Is there a particular reason you're picking Sacramento?
I have many families close to Sacramento, and I think it would be well off if I stayed close to where I was originally born.
I think that's a really good idea. College or university studies are difficult enough when you don't have any family around. So congratulations on all of your success so far. And you seem like a young woman who has her future planned out and and knows exactly what she wants to do. We look forward to hearing more about you and more from you as you work through your public school career here in Yakima, and want to express my appreciation once again for you being here and leading us in the pledge today.
Yes, thank you very much.
We understand that you probably have other parts of your life that are tugging at you, so you're welcome to stay and listen to the presentation that we're going to hear this afternoon about Washington Middle School, but if you have to leave, we completely understand.
Thank you very much. I think I will be staying, though I am going to leave off screen so that way Mr. Hilton can come and continue the presentation.
Excellent. I think Mr. Hilton's got his hands full with her. Okay. Next on the agenda is a bittersweet piece for us. Don Davis has been a member of our board for, well, I'll let him tell you, I think it's about 8 years. And this will be his last meeting of his current term. And so this afternoon, we are bidding him a fond farewell. Superintendent Green, do you have the video ready?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Would you like to do the land acknowledgement first?
Oh, that would be good. Yeah. After I made special mention that Graciela is not going to be here, I apologize for that. Norm, could you read the land acknowledgement, please?
I would enjoy doing that. And before I start, I'd also like to acknowledge, I noticed in a recent Herald that Virginia Beavert, who is probably the main person to preserve Ishishkin, which is the Yakima language, will be celebrating her 100th birthday tomorrow. So I think that's, I'd like to acknowledge her and her work, as well as the Yakima land acknowledgement. Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation. The people of Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties. Today, we honor those Native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture. We acknowledge their descendants who live in the world today. We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial. An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect and a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture. It also honors the truth. As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
President Rice, would you
thank
like
you,
me to
Norm.
proceed?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. It's my distinct pleasure to be here this evening in person with Reverend Davis, Director Davis, Coach, husband, many titles that he goes by, Pastor Davis. We're very honored to have him with us, and it's my pleasure to acknowledge him for his service here with the board. So many tremendous things have happened over the last several years, strategic planning process, equity policy, and so much more. So it's wonderful that the current board has left their legacy, of which he was a large part. So today I would love to present him first with a card from our executive team, first and foremost. You can hang on to that. A pen. I have your next, this is his photo from here in the district office, acknowledging his time as serving on the board. Also his placard on the back, so hopefully you can see that. There you go, sir. You want to set it right there? That's good. One of the great things that has happened with this current board is all of the hard work over numerous years has finally resulted in being acknowledged as a board of distinction. This is the first time, from my understanding, President Rice, you made this known to me, that this has happened in the history of the Yakima School Board. So this is actually a certificate of distinction for you. Wonderful. And last but not least, we have a parting gift from your fellow school board members. If you'd like, I can hold this while you go ahead and take a look inside. That's a great reaction.
Oh my God. Yes. Praying hands.
The bookend hands.
Yes.
Bookend hands. So not only is it important to acknowledge people in person when we can do that, and it's been extremely difficult during this time, but we've actually prepared a video that we would like to show in just a moment, after which we would ask fellow board of director members to please make a few comments, followed up by any final comments that you would like to share.
Thank
Director Davis. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to the video.
My name is Reverend Donald Joseph Davis, and it's just a pleasure to be able to serve and see the inside operations, and now that I'm on the outside, to be able to continue to bring innovative things back into the school district and partnering with the school districts to bring those things in. And I'm looking forward to continually working with the school district and with those on the board to make sure that we continue to bring equity and justice to our students and to our communities. There are several things that I'm most proud of that I've accomplished while I was on the board. One is hiring a new superintendent in Dr. Trevor Green. Two is participating in the strategic planning of a vision for the school district to accomplish. And three is to bring racial equity and justice to all students within the Yakima School District and within the county. Getting the community involved and opening it up to the community where we can empower those students and their parents and loved ones to be able to be mentors for those who are trying to get out of gangs, those who are to be mentors for young men and young women who are maybe struggling in education, and to be a support system. It takes a village to raise a child. And I believe that if we all come together with our different expertise within the community, we can overcome those trials and tribulations that we are seeing now. And I believe that we can do this together. We can do together better than what we can do separate.
Thank you. That was a nice tribute. Don, do you have anything that you'd like to share before the rest of the board weighs in?
Yes, but I thought you guys were going to go first, and then I'll
Okay.
go last.
All right. We can do that.
I would appreciate that.
We can do that. Absolutely. I saw that Graciela joined us. I think she's still here.
Yes, I am.
Graciela, would you like to say a few words to Don?
Sure. Don, I really enjoyed serving on the board with you. I think that I've learned a lot from you. I've especially appreciated the passion you brought to our board meetings, and particularly around student needs and ensuring that our students' needs are put first. I appreciate that you were one of the champions in moving forward the equity work that we've done. So I really have appreciated all of the perspectives and thought leadership that you've brought to the board. and we'll miss your presence and passion on the board, and wish you the best in your next endeavors. I know as passionate you are about community involvement, this won't be the last time we see you. I hope that we'll see you in the audience at other board meetings on topics that I know you're passionate about. So wish you the best. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much for all you've done for Yakima Kids.
Thank you, Graciela. Raymond?
Sure. Reverend Davis, I'm going to miss you, man. Been working together for a while, so a few years. So I do just wanted to say I appreciate you as a board member, but also as a friend. I think over the years we've developed a good relationship, a friendship, and I surely am blessed to have known you and have worked with you in the Yakima School District. So I do appreciate, that passion you bring for education, for public education, for social justice, for equity. That I know that passion has rubbed off on the district and the board and myself more so. I know that no matter the situation, no matter the discussion, no matter the action that we're planning or whatever, you always had the Yakima School District students' best interests in mind. Sometimes the methods were unconventional, but you always had the best interests of students in mind. So I really appreciate that. You just want to make things happen, right? And sometimes, the systems are too slow, or it takes too long to get going. And I know just over the years, you like to, get going and make things happen immediately for students. So, I just want to highlight some things that you've already highlighted. You've helped the district make some great strides in equity and inclusion. I know for a couple, 2 or 3 years there that we were kind of stuck, right? And it had a lot to do with the pandemic and so forth and so on, but our board was stuck, right? What direction we go? And I think you had a lot to do with what the direction we went in. So thank you for that. I truly believe that you have made pathways, with your involvement with equity and inclusion, the strategic plan, and the other initiatives that you were part of, that you've helped create pathways for all Yakima School District students to be successful. So I want to thank you once again. I'll miss you. I think the board will miss you. The school district will miss you, but the good thing is you'll still be around. You'll still be involved. I want to thank you for the honor and the privilege of working with you. Together, as I mentioned, the board, and you had a lot to do with it, accomplished a lot in the last few years to be able to help our superintendent and the district provide leadership through a pandemic was that alone, right? It was quite an accomplishment, and your voice in that was very important. And so I was glad to hear your voice in that. Of course, the strategic plan, I know you were involved in that and had some say. Your voice was involved in that. Equity was huge. We went through a few months of equity training to develop an equity policy. So appreciate you for that. And, just your passion, your leadership. So I appreciate you. And also you served for a number of years as a Region 8 WASDA director, right? And you were part of that as well. So thank you for your work for WASDA as well. So you definitely are leaving your mark, and you're definitely leaving your mark within me as well. And I'll continue to carry that passion that you've had for all students. I know we all board members have that passion and that energy. I think you just took it up a few notches for me anyway. So appreciate you. I'm blessed to have known you, and thank you so much. And let's keep in touch. And thank you for all you've done for our students and our board for the Yakima School District. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Raymond. Norm?
Hi, Don. So much has been said, and I don't want to repeat all of that. I just also want to just thank you for the years and years of service and energy and devotion you've given to this task. I'd like to just compliment you on one thing that I've noticed is your tremendous ability to get out and be in the schools and be with kids and be with teachers and really make yourself visible out there. And I think you've probably done that better than any of us. And again, I will miss you on the board and wish you well and whatever comes next.
Thank you, Norm. Don, I'm going to miss you on this board. Even though we haven't always seen eye to eye, you have opened my eyes to new ways of thinking. And I appreciate that very much. Your determination for us developing an equity policy that includes racial and social justice is not to be minimized. Your work with us in this area was pivotal in our development of a policy. Your passion for student voice was pivotal in making sure that we had a way in our district for students to raise their voice, to share those things that they're passionate about, those things that are important to them. And as a result, we have 150 member Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And you were a big part of making sure that that came to be. I wish you the best. I know that you will continue to watch us. And we will no doubt know when you want to tell us something about what it is that we're doing or what you think we should be doing. There will be no doubt in my mind that you'll let us know. But I wish you well. And I want to thank you for your years of service to the Yakima School District, to its staff, and to its students. So thank you. And now the floor is yours. I don't know if you're going to be able to manage that or not.
Well, I think I will be able to. Raymond and Graciela start bringing me to tears, and then Norm, and then you. And you're right, Martha. Sometimes we didn't see eye to eye, but we saw it through, and that's the most important thing. And I may be off the board, but I have not left the job. Does that make sense? I may be off the board, but I have not left the job, and the job continues. And I have each and every one of y'all's cell numbers, and I know where y'all live. So when they brought me some tissue, but it's Martha and Raymond and Graciela, you remember the stuff I went through? And I had great support and encouragement from the three of you. All the attacks, all the persecution. And I've had Raymond ask me, how are you doing it? How are you going through this? And even you, Martha, asks, how am I withstanding this? And I have a friend by the name of Scott Wilson, and he wrote me something, and he rewrote it yesterday and sent it. And it says, I would rather please God and have a few people upset with me than to please a few people and have God disappointed with me. And that's what carried me through that adversity. Y'all remember that, those attacks. You remember that. And then my oldest sister sent me something that Dr. Martin Luther King told us in New Orleans. And he said, intelligence plus character is the true meaning of education. And that's what it's about. And I'm going to continue to work with you guys to fulfill the equity policy, the racial justice, all of that, and also bring creative programs to the students to enhance them. And I just love this administration. uh, the whole cabinet. But I'm gonna miss the Monday meetings and the Tuesday business meetings, sitting up there, but I'll be sitting out in the audience. I want you to know that. Okay, and you guys have my support 110%. On the next day after the election, God opened a big window from heaven for my 501c3, the Son of David Restoration Ministries, along with Real Madrid Foundation and Game On and the Seahawks and the Mariners. And we're going to be doing stuff in the Yakima County together to enhance the young people and their families in Yakima County and beyond. So I just wanted you guys to know that God has given me more work to do, and I'm up for the task, and He has aligned everything. Everything is falling in place. Matter of fact, I have a meeting that started at 4:00 with challenges. It's a group that started in the 70s by the Black Panthers to do gang prevention intervention on the ground and do education and mentoring. So I'm gonna miss the Monday meetings, but I won't miss you guys because I'll be seeing you guys. And just keep up the great work and know I'm available whenever you need a listening ear, and I'm here. Thank you guys for all the support and all the love. And I love the praying hands. Cynthia's gonna cry when she sees those praying hands. And she sends her love too, as well as my mother-in-law. Thanking you guys for the support. And I'm gonna let you guys get back to your business because I know Bill Hilton is itching to get his presentation done. Bill, I love you, and I'll be seeing you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Don. I'm glad you'll be thinking of us whenever you see that gift on your bookshelf. We heard that you have another place to be, so if you need to leave, we completely understand.
Martha, do you mind if I just add one thing?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so just very briefly, Reverend Davis, I want to acknowledge your work on behalf of our executive team. It's so nice to be able to honor somebody while they're still alive instead of do it after they're gone. So to be part of this and to have a celebration of all that you have meant to the district is tremendous. I just want you to know that if I were to open up the conversation to the rest of my team, we would go on for another hour. So just know that there is that type of feeling towards you. And I know that you and I will connect at another time. I think the mark of a great team is to have very different perspectives. There was a famous coach who once said, surround yourself with smart people who will argue with you. And there are 5 smart people on the board who were able to disagree, but agree around what was most important for students. And I think what was most mentioned about you was your passion. And I think that translates into love for kids. And there was never any doubt of the love that you have and continue to have for our students. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and from our entire executive team. And I think to just close this out, because I know I asked you, I said, are you going to stay around for the rest of the meeting? And you said, heck no, I got things to do. So that's great. You do those things. But if you would just take a short look, we have some photos that will be coming your way later this week, and I'll make sure I get them to you. But here's a sample from Hector over at Barge Lincoln. The reader board, thank you, Reverend Don Davis. Fortitude, the word of the month. And then here we have Julio, welcome, bienvenidos, thank you, gracias, Don Davis. And we have several more that will be coming your way. So thank you, Reverend Davis.
I wanted to say thank all of you guys. And now you guys really got me crying. And I'm going to cherish this for the rest, long as I have breath in my body. And I can't wait to have my wife and mother-in-law see this in about a week, because they're going to be teary. But thank you guys. And I really do have to get to this meeting. But know this, I'm here for you guys, okay? Whatever it is, I'm always available. Don't hesitate to call. Love you.
Thank you, Don. Best wishes and good luck with your new adventure. Excellent. The next item on our agenda is the swearing in of board members, which it was a result of this most recent election. Superintendent Green.
Wonderful. Thank you, President Rice. Yes, when we have a change of one person, we have an entirely new board, and we have two people to swear in this evening. Once again, Graciela Villanueva, we're very pleased that you were able to come back here in the wonderful position that you've been serving in. And Ryan Beckett is going to be new to the board, and I'm sure he'll be excited to find out that he's going to make just as much money as Dawn is leaving the board. So this is certainly a position of love and commitment. So we thank Ryan in advance for being a part of our new board. I will start out, if I could, with Graciela, if you would go first. And we have never done this virtually, so we'll stumble through here. I've broken this down into about 5 different segments. And so I'll speak and then silence myself when you can, and we'll get through this. All right, wonderful. And you might want to bring your hand up to the square. All right. I, Graciela Villanueva, do solemnly swear
I, Graciela Villanueva, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
of Yakima School District Number 7, Yakima County, State of Washington,
of Yakima School District Number 7, Yakima County, State of Washington,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Do you feel different?
I do. I have this whole new level of, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Our only regret is that we could not have everybody here doing this in person. So thank you, Graciela. All right, Director Beckett, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. We're excited. Okay, here we go. I, Ryan Beckett, do solemnly swear
I, Ryan Beckett, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
and will faithfully discharge the duties of director
of Yakima School District Number 7, Yakima County, State of Washington,
of Yakima School District Number 7, Yakima County, State of Washington,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. Yes, celebration, hands up for both Director Beckett, Director Villanueva, and Director Beckett. We have for you, and we'll get this to you. We have a couple of magnetic name tags that you'll get, 2, so you can wear them on 2 different outfits if you'd like, and just leave them there. We have the wonderful nameplate that will, so people know who to be angry with. Not so, know who to appreciate. And then, of course, we will put up your photo here before the end of the evening. It'll be displayed in our foyer. And welcome aboard. We're glad to have you here as part of our new board. And Graciela, we're glad to have you back. President Rice, unless you have any comments.
Do either of you have any comments you'd like to share?
I'll just say that I'm glad that I have the opportunity to continue to serve the community of Yakima and to represent our students' needs and to ensure that our students' needs are put first.
Thank you, Graciela.
If I could just say thank you, especially to Superintendent Green for some of the help with onboarding thus far, and that I'm really looking forward to getting to know everyone better, and I'm excited about this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. As I've told incoming board members in the past, there will be a slight grace period where you can say, I didn't know about that, I'm new. But we won't allow you to do that for very long, because there's no rest when you come onto a school board. You hit the ground running at 60 miles an hour, and today is no different than that. So welcome. look forward to working with you and serving the students and staff of the Yakima School District with you as a member of our team. Okay, next we'll get on to our school presentation. We have Washington Middle School presenting today. Typically, it takes about 3 years for the school board to get around to all the schools when we could get around to all of the schools. But we have been doing this virtually for the last almost 2 years now. It's always one of the most informative things that we do as a board. And on a personal note, it's one of the most fun things that I do as a board member is to get a chance to interact with staff and hear what's going on in the schools. And so today it's Washington Middle School's turn. Mr. Superintendent, do you want to kick this off or just move to Principal Hilton?
I'll take less than a minute to kick this off, President Rice. I certainly want to thank not only Principal Hilton for his tremendous work and preparation and efforts at Washington Middle School, but also would like to thank our Executive Director, Charlotte Ellis, for her work as well in supporting Bill. We know that teachers truly make a difference in the classroom, but the leadership in a building is paramount collectively across the system for teachers. You can have a good building with a good principal, but you'll never have a great building without a great principal. So we're grateful for the time and effort that he puts in on behalf of students at Washington. And the last thing that I'll just share is personally, on a personal note, when I was doing my internship years ago, I was blessed to have spent a significant amount of time under the tutelage of Bill Hilton. So when Lorenzo was out on attending different events, I was able to fill in and work very closely with Bill. So I want to thank him for the leadership teachings that he bestowed upon me during the time that I was with him at Washington. So without further ado, Bill, the time is yours.
All right, thank you very much. I'll get the presentation going here. Oh, all right. Well, thank you very much. Now I've lost everyone. Hold on. I'm good. All right. I can't see everybody. It drives me nuts. Welcome to Washington Middle School. We have several staff members here that are going to be sharing some different information with you. We're just kind of going to move through here. I know you guys have already been here quite a while. We really worked on our mission. Our mission is to be an inclusive community of staff, students, and families. Our mission is to prepare and empower students to be community, career, college ready through the values of pride. We really rebranded. We really focus on being positive, responsible, inclusive, determined, and engaged with our students. And they're really buying into that well. We did rebrand along with our leadership structure this year. So we have started an MTSS team, then we've branched out into 3 main areas for this year. Our instructional, which is our ILT, our social emotional, and then our behavioral. We really need to do some work around all 3 of those areas. So we broke it up, shared the leadership, and you can see the different staff members that are involved in that. Each one meets individually, then we meet as a big team, and you're going to hear from several of those today, the leads of each one. Of course, we've aligned with the YSD strategic plan. We use a lot of different data, which we're going to share with you. I don't know if you've been shared with the PowerPoint that we have today, so hopefully you have it in front of you because we're going to be going quick. Demographics, we're very, very high Hispanic, Latinx population of about 94%. Our free and reduced is over 90%. We have a lot of transitional bilingual. We have a high migrant, and we are the newcomer hub for the middle level. So we have about 26 newcomers for this year. Then they transition from yellow 1 to 2. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and he's going to start talking about some SBA, and then he's going to turn it over to Gian.
All right. So on the screen right now, you can see our SBA data. I can't even tell if I'm on screen, so hopefully. The data is a couple years old, obviously, because due to COVID, we did not test over the last couple of years. So even if we broke down by grade level, those 7th and 8th graders are now high schoolers. So basically, kids every year take the SBA test. Proficiency would be if they are a level 3 or 4. So you can see in ELA, about 29% of our kids the last time we state tested were proficient. Math, just over 23%. And then science is just an 8th grade test, 26%. At the bottom, there's a new indicator out from OSPI that is an overall framework score. Middle schools get scored in 4 areas: attendance, student growth, EL progress, and I'm forgetting the other one off the top of my head, but there's 4 areas. You get a combined score from 1 to 10. Red and orange means we've still got some growth to do, but that line is the bottom 5% of the state where we used to fall under, which put us into a required action district or school of improvement. So we started to creep out of that in a lot of areas, but we still have some work to do there. I'm going to pass it over to Gonzalo Gian for some quick behavioral data, and then I'll be back with some staff data.
So if you can see, we have our behavioral data highlights from Washington. Under MTSS behavior and attendance, we're combining those. We know that they work together, so they go hand in hand. So overall, we're at 85% attendance this year. That's an increase from the beginning of the year, which was at 80. We've been doing home visits. In fact, I did 2 today. Our first community engagement board was last week. We're working with the CIS partnership, and she's doing really good at helping me connect with some students. She did a home visit this weekend for me. And then we're doing tiered structures to increase the attendance. So we're working with our students right now to see what we can do to help them attend their different classes. If you see the discipline data for 2 months, first 2 months, we went from 2019. We didn't do 2020 because it was a really weird year. So our data is a little more accurate for 2019. We had 350 total referrals out of 78 students that were sent to the office. For 2021, we had students, there were 145 students that created those 350 referrals. So this year we have 78 referrals out of 48 students. So less students, less referrals. It looks like overall most of the students are following the expectations. That's due to our PBIS system. And I want to thank some other factors that we have in there. We're doing part of our PBIS is Pride. So since we're the Lions, we're working on Pride, and we have that throughout the building, and all of our teachers follow that. Reflections, we also incorporated that as part of our PBIS. So when students are having difficulty with their classes, they're sent on reflections, and we keep all of that data. And that way we can identify which students need tier 2 supports. And so far we've had 13 disciplines that have dealt with suspensions this year. So our suspensions are lower. We're starting to identify our tier 2 students a lot quicker, and our discipline overall and attendance is up and discipline down. So those are the trends we want to see. And I will turn it over to Mr. Mifflin again.
All right. So the next one, this is our EES data. So we're asked to show some of the indicators that are readiness to change. So if you have positives on those answers, that shows that a staff is ready to change or ready to try new things or willingness to grow. The big thing we wanted to highlight in here is, because they're hard to see when you just snip one, is we also get data called an I versus they gap, which is basically trust between staff members and what our staff thinks of each other and their willingness to support kids. And over the past 3 years, our I versus they gap has decreased every single year, which is a really positive trend to have. It says that you should be worried if there's an I versus they gap of 25%. That means that a lot of your staff doesn't really trust their team partners or the others in the building to do the work. We've never topped 25%, but you can see up there that it's going down every year and getting a lot smaller, which I think there's some things in place that we have to build trust within our staff. And we've got a great staff that's working together as a team. We don't just want to show you all of our positives. We did pull one of our biggest declines in our longitudinal data was our perceptual data about professional learning communities. So from 1920 to 2021, there was a pretty big decline in how our staff felt about working on a team. So we took that to make one of our school improvement goals this year around high functioning PLCs or professional learning communities. So we do want to share that we are using that data, even if it's negative, to help build on our school improvement plan. And that's going to lead us into our school goals.
Hello, I am Jennifer. I am the ILT leader for the MTSS group. We have 4 school goals. As Mr. Mifflin just told you, our goal number 3 comes from some data on the survey, but also at the end of last year, we put together a staff survey, and over we saw the need for stronger PLC groups. So kind of going out of order, but making the connection, that is one of our goals. We just gave a survey last week that's continuing, assessing how staff are feeling, just kind of having a check-in point. So that's one of our data pieces that we don't have on this presentation, but that we as an MTSS team will be looking at. So the other goals are, goal number 1 is to meet a Lexile growth goal, to engage students in academic progress, which is the social emotional learning. And then goal 4 is 100% of our families are going to attend at least 3 school-sponsored events. We do family nights every month, and different content nights. A different content takes each month and runs a family night. So, part of our plan for these goals, each small team and each content team has created goals for their teams that fall under those 4 school goals. So I can speak to math more specifically, but to meet the literacy goal, our math team right now is working on 3 reads. And as a team, we bring our 3 reads that we've been doing in class. We bring student example. We talk about what worked and what didn't work for our new teachers, as well as our veteran teachers. But one of our growth goals is to make sure we're doing these 3 reads and helping students and seeing how they're growing through challenging word problems. So that's like a very specific example. The math Read 180 has their goals for Lexile growth and how they're monitoring students. But during our small team, we are really looking at what these core practices are and what it takes to make the core practices work in our classrooms and in our small teams. So we do this not only in content, but also in grade level. So the examples on the screen or the links could be for content and grade level. You're up.
All right, so a little bit about our school-wide literacy focus. We really focus on our literacy because we notice that our kids are reading at, if you look at our Lexile scores, we average at least 2 years behind. So we really have a plan on having all of our contents support school-wide literacy and by grade level, so they come up with commonalities. We have writing every day with Washington writing posters and writing expectations school-wide, really using annotating and interacting with text, promotion of daily reading, and then our core practices, that interactive text piece. And there are some examples of the things that we do with that. We use that as walkthrough tools, not only as admin, but we have staff actually will go into other classrooms and they're kind of collecting data and actually getting some ideas on how to improve with their classes as well. And then I want to turn it over to Amy and our social emotional initiative.
Good evening. I'm Amy Marcus, and I'm our SEO lead. I'm going to share a little bit. Yeah, I want to go back up here so you guys aren't staring at my name badge. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we are doing to reach that goal that we have. Just to remind you, we want to engage 100% of students in their own academic progress, goal setting, and personal development around SEL. To reach this goal, we have our research-based social emotional learning curriculum, which is Character Strong. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. So all of the students school-wide participate in Character Strong. One of the big wins I think that we have this year is that we actually have 4 days of advisory. Tuesdays we use for our organization, goal setting. This is where students do grade checks and go on Skyward. On Wednesdays, we address our college and career readiness standards through Zello. And on Thursdays, the SEL standards with Character Strong. Fridays, we use for goal setting and relationship building. Another thing that we're super excited about this year is we purchased an adult social emotional learning curriculum called Anchored SEL this year that our staff has been participating in. We got a half a day on October 8th to do the work, and we have had some, we call them WAMS Focus Mondays, to do the work as well as a team, and that has been really successful so far. As for school-wide implementation, we've had Maggie Schultze. You might know her. She is a PBIS coach with our district. She's helped us with some SEL and behavior mini sessions at the beginning of this year, where on Tuesday we would meet for an hour and she would give us some information, and we would take that and try to implement it, and then the next week we would talk about it. And then looking forward, our next steps would be working on school-wide implementation across content. So that will be more next year if you're looking at the CASEL model. Thank you. I'm gonna pass it on to Mr. Nicholas.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to take a quick shot here so I can see you. So hopefully you guys can all still see the presentation, because I like seeing who I'm talking to. They've all just been talking to a screen. And I'm just going to take my mask off because I'm talking to a computer. One of our key initiatives, in addition to Character Strong, and now I'm in trouble because I need to go back and advance the screen one more slide there so that you guys can see it. There we go. Oh, up one. And then come back here. One of our key initiatives is our PBIS program. Like every other school in the Yakima School District, we are a PBIS school. For those that are new to the board, if you're unaware, PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. It's where we take a common set of expectations, a common framework, and we use it to help grow positive behaviors in our school. And it has been enormously successful for us. We have been at that for some time. You can see an example of some of our expectations. We just had the rebrand with the Washington Lions. So we are now the Washington Pride. We are positive, we are responsible, we are inclusive, we're determined, we're engaged. We paint bright bullseyes on each one of those expectations, and it encourages students to grow in that direction. And as you can tell from the signage, we have signage everywhere so the students know what's expected in the hallway, in the restrooms, in the classroom, when they enter a classroom, when they leave a classroom, on the buses. And because of that common set of expectations, students know exactly what to do at the right time. We also, as part of a PBIS system, have a robust recognition system. So when they exhibit those positive behaviors, we're able to recognize that with a point system. We use that as the Washington Way points, or the Washington Pride points, excuse me, at this time. And we use a particular set of software to do that. And I'd like to demonstrate it to you here in just a moment. But let me just encapsulate the last part of this page here. We have a robust tier 1 system and a tier 2 system, and we're going to kind of explain both of those to you. So I'm going to click stop sharing at this point, and I'm going to share a different page with you. This is our PBIS rewards program that we use in our PBIS tier 1 system. So pardon me for just a moment. Let me click share, give you a tab, and let me grab the PBIS rewards tab. All right. This is what it looks like from a teacher's perspective on PBIS rewards. Several years back, we went through the process of getting approval to pilot this software in the Yakima School District. And hence, since then, several other schools have picked up using it as well. It tags along with and supports the PBIS program so well. It allows us to give students a digital currency. We give them digital points We reward them for positive behavior. So like, for instance, here talking about rewarding a student, this is Mr. Hilton's account. As you can see there, William Hilton. You can also see he didn't meet his point goals for today, which is, not so good, but we'll work with him tomorrow. To reward a student, if we're using a teacher laptop, you can search for the student, or if you're a teacher, your groups of students are available to you. We can also use the app on our cell phone, and all it takes is simply scanning the badge cards of every student as they go by. So the little barcode, we can click whether they were responsible, whether they were positive, whether they were inclusive, engaged, and we can automatically give them a digital currency to spend. Students buy into this because having that digital currency to manage allows them to do things like raffles. So if I were to click on the raffle page here, they could go and you can see some of the things that are available to them right now. And most of these are donated goods, but you can see we have books, lotions, fun things, helmets, sports, gift cards, Crystal Crow kits, everything you can imagine. It is available to them in here for a raffle. So they can purchase points and enter the raffle. The raffles are drawn on the concluding dates, and they get to see a prize and they get a compensation for their good behavior. In addition, every student side gets an SEL check when they log in. So the student is able to check in and say, you know what, I'm feeling angry today. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling calm. And all of their teachers get a little heads up about their feeling. Not just for that, but the students, once they click on that link, they're able to get some tips on how to calm down, how to recenter themselves, some good social emotional learning. We also run our check-in, check-out program through the PBIS Rewards program. So students, our Tier 2 students who are on a check-in, check-out plans, their teachers, again, get that notification, and we can keep track of that data digitally as students move from class to class. And that really assists us as a Tier 2 team to monitor success and to graduate them out of the program and put them gradually over into self-monitoring. The last thing I'd really like to highlight about PBIS Rewards is it's not just for kids, but we can share teacher rewards as well. And I just clicked on the teacher rewards page, but because I'm on a tab screen there, it probably didn't click over along with it. But it's a whole page that is devoted so the teachers can recognize each other. We can tell, you know what, thank you so much for working with me today. I appreciate it. And we give each other points. And we have raffles for stuff and rewards for teachers as well. So it works out to be a nice system to really recognize positive behaviors. And if I were to make one request, well, nobody's going to cane me off here. This would be a wonderful program to buy for the district. So, if you want to support something that really helps us, this would be awesome. And it would be super appreciated. Let me stop sharing this and let me go back to the original tab with our program. And I want to wind up the PBIS section with a page about our Tier 2 supports. Now, when we talk about Tier 2 supports, let me grab the Washington School Board presentation here. There we go. With our Tier 2 supports, you can see some recognition here, our point totals from PBIS Rewards, how we peaked out in October, and we're still, of course, building in November. Some of the expectations that we were rewarded for. But I'd like to draw your attention to this one. This is just a few snippets of our student screener that we run every year. We try to run the screener at least twice a year, sometimes 3 times. It's a way for us to really get a temperature check on how our students are doing and get them to self-identify some behaviors that could cause problems. Now, if we look at some of the things on here, for instance, like bullying and grief and loss, you can see that the majority of students do not need help. The phrase exactly is, I'm all good, no thanks. And that's the kind of golden colored ones. But when students identify that they need help with grief or loss, when they need help with feeling sad or depressed, when they need help with bullying, we're able to like get a direct response from those students that they're reaching out for help, and we can pair them with a counselor. We pair them with a group. We get admin to pull them out and find out what's going on with the bullying behavior. And it's been so helpful to really reach those students before those behaviors become extreme and exacerbated because of the conditions they're going through. Interesting also from our survey, equity and inclusion. This was a couple of questions that we added to this year's survey, whether kids feel like they've ever been treated worse because of their race or ethnicity, because of their sexual orientation, because of their gender identification. As you can see, the majority of our kids do not feel that way. They feel very strongly that they've never been mistreated because of those things. However, those that did identify that way, that they had suffered because of a distinction, And we're able to like then pull those students aside and nurture them and provide them with the support that they need, which has been really helpful. Perhaps the more curious question here, and as a team, we just really regret not asking the gender identity of the students who responded. But this question was, do you believe that boys and girls are treated differently in classes? And it was almost a 50-50 split. So it just would have been really cool data to know whether each respondent was a boy or a girl when they responded that way. And that'll be something that can be on our next particular question. At this point, we'll turn our program over to Ms. Hernandez. Thank you for your attention. Monday meetup.
All right. We are here to talk about the mentoring program and what it's doing for our school. So we have this new mentoring program. It's called Lion Ames Mentoring, and some of you are a part of it, and we greatly appreciate your support. Last year, Mr. Mislin and I had multiple conversations about how we could help some of our students that were just struggling, that we didn't think were going to, they'd be in a different position if we could have helped them differently, right? If we had different resources. And so through lots of conversations and additional staff members jumping in and helping with ideas, we've created this mentor program. And we jumped through hoops. We thought it was going to be a lot easier. We're both very organized people. We thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. But we're here and he is running a very successful program. We had teachers input who they thought in our school could benefit from a mentor. And this mentor would be an outside the school person that could come in and check with them. They can email them. The parents are totally on board and involved in the process as well. So it's not a blindside or secretive thing. And through this, we're hoping to increase engagement. Students have conversations and make comments to us constantly about how excited they are that their mentor is coming to see them at lunch, or that their mentor checked in with them, or their mentor is coming to the basketball game today. They're just very excited about this new connection and this new support person. So we have 44 students that have been connected with 44 community members.
And just another add-on. So as part of that, they're working on building strong, positive relationships with kids. You can see kind of the top left, each of them was provided with a journal that they could work through that ties to the district character words of the month, our character strong character dares, and goal setting. They're working on setting goals with those students and then supporting them personally, socially, and academically. As of today, we're actually up to 47 mentors. Our original goal was 20. It was actually kind of hard to get some students that wanted to try this out at first. And now that they're seeing people like Dr. Darling bring pizzas in for lunch, I have a lot of them asking me if they could get a mentor as well. But we have some pretty cool relationships outside. One example I'll give is we have a mentor and mentee that go every Saturday to the YMCA. They play basketball, they go to lunch, he takes them home. That's a student that was identified for needing support, and I don't want to give too much information, but it's led to some change in that student academically, personally, and some bigger changes that we're working on outside of school. So at this point, I should have grabbed the sign-in sheet, but I looked at it the other day. We had over 100 adults that had come in to visit a student in the building. Some of those are the same person visiting multiple times for that kid, but it's just great to see the community come into the building and work with those students. And then we have one last school-wide initiative that Mr. Hilton's gonna go over.
All right, put it back on. I don't know how to do it. All right. So our staff PLCs, which we've talked about quite a bit already, or not a lot, but to give you an idea of what we're doing, this is some examples of some of the work that we're going. This is ongoing. To really get our PLCs to be high functioning PLCs. We really started the back to school days, building those norms, a lot of team building activities, really starting to work on their action plans. What are they going to do that's going to impact student learning, and doing a cycle, trying something, testing it, seeing if it's working. We have some standing agenda items, focusing on kids, looking at the data. A lot of team and staff surveys for feedback. We did one at the end of the school year. We just did another check, and we're going to be looking at that and making some tweaks. And then we have some upcoming professional development for our PLCs using some district expertise and ESD. And with that, questions. How do you put that over? The what? All right, there we go. All right, so with that, any questions from the board or our illustrious other leaders that are in the presentation?
Any questions from board members?
I do have one. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the personal development plans and what that entails, please?
Nick, you want to take that one? Oh, no, hold on. Amy's coming.
Hi, were you referring to the SEL goal for the students' personal development plans? Yeah, okay. So as a part of their college and career readiness instruction, they go through a program called Zello. And in that program, they do various personality assessments. And is that what it's supposed to be doing? Various personality assessments. These then pop up some interest that might interest them, and then they start working, well, if that is something that I want to do, what are some things that I can do now to make sure that I'm on track to getting there?
Yes, thank you. That's awesome that middle school students are already thinking about college, right, and planning for college. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
I have a couple of questions. Early on in the presentation, you shared some attendance data and some of you talked about doing home visits and community engagement boards, and your attendance statistic has increased. I'm wondering if you can share some of the reasons that you heard around barriers to students' regular attendance.
So I don't know, Gian, if you want to take this, but I'll let Gian take it because I've heard a few too. If it leaves some out, I'll put them in.
So part of the question was blanked out, but I think the main question is what are the barriers for the attendance, correct?
Yeah, there's
Yeah. A lot of that we're seeing, they range from the family being McKinney-Vento all the way to parents not updating their information. So we do a phone call every day when they miss, and those phones are not making it through. We're trying Parent Square. So I tried to look back and see which one of the parents are not getting that information. And a lot of them just have information that has not been updated recently. A couple instances, we've had students that have moved back to Mexico, but we didn't have any policy in place to remove them from the roll. So we wanted to make sure that we did that correctly. So that was the 2 home visits that I did today. Those students were disenrolled, not just by hearsay, but we actually had signatures from parents. Let's see, I think a big one that I'm noticing a lot of is that parents are just, some of them are very apathetic as to the attendance and the importance of it. So once I have a conversation with them about how important it is for grades and making sure that when they get into high school that, you know, they're up to grade level, that it's going to help them, they tend to get them in here more. I did some home visits on a Friday that we had off from school. So a lot of the kids didn't expect anybody from school to show up that day. And out of those home visits, I did 10, 5 of those kids started showing up. Not regularly, but at least we saw them again. We saw the whites of their eyes is what they like to say. So
you mentioned McKinney-Vento. Is it just kind of your best sense of, do you think that McKinney-Vento related challenges is increasing in our families, in your experience?
Some of them are, a lot of what I see is a lot of them just don't have the transportation. So their transportation is spotty. I know Art and Transportation is trying to work it to where we can make our radius a little bit smaller so they can be included in our transportation system. But currently you have to be within a certain size. So that's where we start. And then if that doesn't help with McKinney-Vento, then I refer him to Javi Vela and he starts to get the resources together for the kids. But all that takes time. And so since it's the beginning of the year. But one of the great things is a lot of the kids that I was chasing last year, not literally chasing, but following, I see them every day here now. So a lot of it just had to do with COVID last year, and this year they're a little bit more apt to coming on a regular basis. It's kind of like our discipline data. The ones that are missing are the ones that are missing a lot. So it's just usually the top 5%. Those are the ones that we're going after right now, and focusing on to try to get them in here.
And would you say that there's more kids that qualify for McKinney-Vento now than in previous years?
They could be. A lot of it, sometimes what I do notice is that their address that's in there is completely wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm having to find them on Facebook, having to find them through Officer Pepper got me a phone number that was updated. And then once I can start making that connection, then we can start to get them the resources. And some of them are doubling up families and they just don't update their information.
Well, thank you for all of your work. That's, amazing work to reach out to families, particularly those students who are in that higher, the 5% of students who are having a lot of challenges attending school regularly. So thank you for all of your work.
I try to be as supportive with the families instead of coming at them with, why aren't you doing this or that? It's just like, what can we do to help?
Yeah.
But you might want to thank me later after I submit my mileage.
No other questions, but just want to thank you, Principal Hilton and your team and all of the great work that you all are doing. The last couple of years has been especially challenging, and we don't have a lot of data to look at, as board members, but know that so many of our students are really struggling with social emotional issues, with mental health issues, and so I really appreciate that we have that you all have a really strong focus on ensuring the wellness of our kids, both emotionally and mentally. I think if a kid is struggling with those things, it's hard to learn. It's hard as adults to pay attention if you have some of those challenges going on. And so this intentional focus of ensuring kids' wellness, I think, is really going to set us up to set you all up for some student achievement scores in this first year as we transition back to in-person school. So thank you for all of your work, and can't wait to come back in 3 years and hear more about this presentation. Of course, we'll see you more in between that, but those times. But thank you so much for all your work.
One thing we didn't highlight here is we do have, we put in a lot of extra support this year. We have a full-time counselor on staff. RCIS has a lot of outreaches, of course, the College Bound, MTSS. So we have and our advocates, 3 other advocates we have in the building that reach out for attendance or just really supporting kids in their social, emotional, along with academics. We're trying to really build a strong foundation for support for kids here. I'm sure every building is, but we've been reaching out and having that.
Thank you, Graciela. Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, this is Norm. I'd just like to compliment you on what you're doing. I really think when you're really on the right track. When kids feel safe and supported in their school, they'll be there. It's a place they want to be. And I think that's showing the fact that your kids, the data seems to show that they're feeling safe and supported. And so I think that's going to be a big key in the attendance as well. And I really am a big proponent of a lot of the programs you've implemented. So congratulations on doing PBIS with energy and fidelity and working the program really hard.
We have a great staff that work together to get it done. I wish I could take credit for it, but it is them. That shared leadership and letting them take initiative has been really good. We have a wonderful staff here.
Thank you, Norm.
But I do have a few comments as well.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the new logo, right? The lion. That was awesome to see that in the presentation. And thank you to leadership of Mr. Guillen and the students. I saw that. And, I look at I was looking at the word pride, and I kept thinking it was actually, having pride in oneself, accomplishments, but it also has a double meaning, I believe, is what I heard, right? That that students are part of this Lion organization or club or pride, right? And everybody has their role, and but the pride's there to help these students to get prepared to learn, all those things that we heard, in preparation for the next step in their educational career. So I was very impressed with that. I was just thinking about that through the whole presentation, the concept of pride and the values, right, associated with that, because oftentimes in our society, pride, being prideful is frowned upon. But if we're prideful for the right things, and those values are the right things, then it's okay to be prideful. It's okay to be boastful, and that just helps, I think, students be more successful. Also, I saw it interesting, and it was great to see that most students replied or responded to the survey that they've never been treated worse due to ethnicity, race, or ethnicity. I found that to be very interesting. And again, it was great to hear that that's not an issue for them at Washington Middle School. So I just want to thank you, Mr. Hilton, and your team. As Graciela, board member Graciela mentioned, we've gone through some very challenging times with the pandemic and all that has resulted with the pandemic, right? The mental health challenges and just attendance and so forth. But, we appreciate the work that you and your team are doing to continue, right, to figure things out and do the best possible, find the best possible ways to provide a quality education to students at Washington Middle School. And thank you so much for that, your leadership, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Ryan, I don't want to let you go and not have something that you'd like to add. I know this was probably a baptism by fire hose for you today.
Correct.
But I wonder if you have any questions for staff or if you'd like to share anything.
Well, thank you, Martha. Principal Hilton, I just want to say thank you. That's a lot of information. I am scratching down a few notes for some questions that I need to formulate better down the road, but it's very encouraging. It's very exciting. It's very energizing. And I appreciate getting to hear your presentation today. And I look forward to being able to see you guys in person in your building down the road someday. So thank you.
We have an open door policy following COVID protocols. Where's Stacy? Sure. But yeah, we love to have people visit our building. And kids like to see people coming from out. I mean, those of you that have been in the building know that our kids are pretty welcoming and they're not afraid to ask you questions. So please come on anytime.
Thank you, Ryan. Principal Hilton and your staff, I commend you on probably the most informative and kind of like machine gun fire kind of presentation that we received today. There was a lot of information in that presentation, and like Ryan, it's going to take me a while to digest it. What I was most impressed with, however, was your implementation of PBIS and how that is being leveraged to make sure that you've got students who are attending, so your attendance is up and your discipline numbers are down. And that's very encouraging, especially considering the 20 months that we all have experienced. And so I want to congratulate you on that. And thank you for a great presentation today. It was really well done and full of information that we can use to dig into a little bit later. Superintendent Green, do you have any closing thoughts here?
I appreciate Bill Hilton, our principal, acknowledging his staff. And I think that's another great leadership quality, is recognizing the boots on the ground, so to speak, those who build the relationships. Most students don't care what you know until they know how much you care. And I think at Washington, especially with the mentorship program, in addition to the variety of other outreach efforts that are taking place, our students know that, and that's a direct reflection on our teachers, but then also on leadership for recognizing how to support staff in initiating great programs and having the flexibility to do so. So thank you, Bill. Thank your team and thank your staff. Wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Green. Mr. Hilton, I know that you all probably have life that are pieces of your lives that are tugging at you for one reason or another. You're welcome to stay, but if you need to leave, we do have other things to take care of today. If you need to leave, we completely understand.
All right, I appreciate that. And thank you for the opportunity today.
Hey, Martha, I have just one thing for Mr. Hilton.
Go ahead.
I've served as a mentor in the past. It's been a while, so I'm raising my hand to volunteer as a mentor if you need any more. So just wanted to offer that to you.
Raymond, give us a call tomorrow because I think we have another young man that we're looking for a nice male to mentor. We're one short.
All right, I'll call you tomorrow. I worked with a student there years ago, and now he's in college. He's graduated, and you know, I have contact with him. So it's awesome to see, you know, the impact of that program. It's a wonderful program. So I'll give you a call tomorrow.
There you
sir.
go. Proven success.
Yes, sir.
Sign you up.
There you go.
Bill, before, one more thing, Martha.
Go ahead.
So, Bill, before you leave, I think what just happened there is a wonderful example of the opportunities, and I know that Director Navarro took full advantage of that opportunity, being in on this conversation. Is there a number or an email that you could drop into the chat for those that are maybe here this evening, or is there something that we could do to access? I know we have, I'm not sure how many people on board. It looks like 8 at the moment. But there may be a way for, you know, some of those that are watching and thinking about serving as a mentor to a young lady or young man, how they would reach out.
Yep, I'm going to put Nick. Oh, look at that. Nick's already in there. Oh, no, wait a minute. His email's not.
All right. So if somebody is watching, it would be Mifflin, Mifflin, again, Mifflin .Nicholas, Nicholas at ysd7.org. You could also reach out to central office here, and we would put you in contact with Washington Middle School. Bill Hilton's number, the principal, is 573-2303. Again, Bill Hilton, 573-2303. Thank you for letting me.
That's actually Nick's number. Mine's 01, but that's okay.
Oh, thank you. 1.
Okay. Sounds like we have some media opportunities here. Thank you, Bill. Thank you to your staff for hanging out there with us tonight as we went through the beginning of the meeting that didn't have much of anything to do with you, but a whole lot to do with us. So thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for all that you're doing for your students at Washington.
Well, thank you for what you guys do for our kids here in Yakima. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Okay, next item on the agenda are reports from members of the board. Do we have any board members who wish to report out any items of interest to the rest of the board this evening?
Yeah, I don't want to go into any big depth tonight. I think we've had a pretty long meeting, but we might want to save a little time in our retreat to maybe provide a summary of some of the things that we did at the conference, at the state conference. So I attended some breakouts that were pretty interesting. One was kind of a renewal and review of policy governance. And one was on dealing with hot button issues, which I think there's some valuable information out of that. And then one was, I'm really interested in mastery-based learning and moving beyond just seat time and that kind of way to earn credit, but really looking at mastery-based learning. And there's some things happening on the state board around that issue and in some school districts that are taking a close look at that. So I'm not sure, I'm not clear on what we are doing in this district around mastery-based learning. So that would be a topic of interest later on. But I just wanted to mention that there were some nice things that were part of that conference.
Thank you, Norm. We do have our first retreat coming up in January. It will be an onboarding opportunity for Ryan, but as well, we have other stuff we need to take care of in the retreat. But if board members are interested in adding to the agenda, please let Barb and I know, and we'll put that, whatever you add, onto the agenda. Okay. And Raymond?
Yes. So I also wanted just a brief report on the conference. It was a good conference, good workshops. One thing I found interesting is that I went to several workshops on equity and inclusion, right? And there appears to be different definitions of equity still. So I found that interesting. I know one was based on structural racism or inequities, right? Based on policies or racist policies and so forth, more in line with the work that we did, right, with Kendi and Singleton. But also there's also the definition that we had considered a few years ago, in that equity is that all students get what they need, right, to be successful. So if they need a little bit more instruction or there's more money or whatever, then they would get that. So, as part of an equity approach. So I found that interesting. I think it's probably a combination of the two, right? And so it's just some food for thought, I guess, and something that kind of spurred my thinking in terms of, what are districts thinking about when they say equity and inclusion, and how are they realizing that in their individual districts. So just some interesting, good stuff, information in all the workshops that I attended. Even though there was some technical difficulties, I think they got those straightened out. But overall, good conference. So I just wanted to report on that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Raymond. Any other reports from members of the board? Trevor?
So Martha, did you want to talk about the presentations, or you want me to talk about those two?
You could talk about them, please.
Okay. So since you did mention WASDA, and I won't put this in the superintendent report, but I was invited to present at a couple of occasions, and it's very nice that I think that Yakima is starting to get a better reputation, and we're sharing many things out there with the state that have been well received. I was invited to be on a panel through Gene Sherritt, who is an institution in the state of Washington. He served on advising the governor around educational items in the past, our current governor, and also led all of the ESDs at one point. And he combined with John Steach out of the Center for Educational Effectiveness. And I was on a superintendent panel of three of us to address outlier schools in a study that had been funded through the Gates Foundation. It was a wonderful opportunity to hear about the great things that are happening in outlier schools across the state. I was there representing Roosevelt, the work that happens with Nancy Smith and her staff, which has been just phenomenal. And there is quite an extensive study on these outlier schools, which give a blueprint of what is working in the state. And I shared in that presentation that I do believe that if every school director was able to read that, refer to it, and understand what is working out there across the state with high needs populations in different areas, that we would all be gathered around these type of studies. So I have requested that from Gene Sherritt and John Steach, and I will have that forwarded to all of you. I know there's an 8-page a shorter version, but you'll get all of the details. So I'll make sure that you get that. And then I had also the opportunity to lead a session. Bunker Frank, of course, who you know, was there. Martha was there as well online. And then I was able to join with John Mishra, who is out of OSPI. I would share his title, but it's the longest title I've seen in my life. I think it has like 4 or 5 different areas that he's overseeing. But one of those areas is around modified calendar. So that presentation did focus on what is happening in the Valley here in our area around modified calendar. Of course, we are not yet to the point where we are in that status, but I was able to share clips around what's happening in Toppenish, what's happening in Highland and other areas. And again, that was very well received and put us in a very good light with OSPI in accordance with Superintendent Reichdahl's push to consider modified calendar. And we are one of 21 recipients in the state of a grant to research what that could mean to our district. And I know that Will Surratt will be presenting here in just a few moments on an update around modified calendar. I just want to make sure that all of you knew that we were well represented, not only in our attendance in sessions, but also in presenting.
Thank you, Trevor. Any other reports from members of the board? Okay, next we have a superintendent's update. Mr. Superintendent.
Jumping right in, November's character word, as many of you already know, is fortitude. In Spanish, that would be firme. The definition is strength of mind that enables a person to encounter danger or bear pain or adversity with courage. In Spanish, fuerza de la mente que permite a una persona enfrentarse al peligro o soportar el dolor o la adversidad con valentía. And the trait is resilient learner. The characterística es aprendiz resiliente. For the remainder of the report this evening, we have a variety of share outs, two on the COVID reports, the YSD statistics through Stacy, and also then the county report through Jewel. I would also ask Stacy that she add to her report some of the impact that we're seeing around COVID within our own system and what that means as far as closures. So we'll start with those two. Stacy, please.
Thank you, Superintendent Green. Good evening, Board of Directors. Thank you, Barb. We could go to the first slide, please. So again, this is through Tuesday of last week, the last couple of weeks up through Tuesday. And of course, we're out of school Wednesday through Sunday here. But we did have a little bit of a breakout at Gilbert and Roosevelt. They were in the 12% over at Gilbert prior to us leaving, as well as Roosevelt at 7.8 and Lewis and Clark at 7.8 for an overall quarantining of students at 3.43%. Next slide, please. So we have administered down at our static site down at Central Services 625 tests over the last 2 weeks with 40 positives, which is an increase of 2.28%. And the convenience of that is, just to let you know, we had a teacher from one of our elementaries who felt sick during the day, told their principal, took off and went down to our site down there and ended up testing positive, which allowed us to jump right on that, provide immediate contact tracing and secure the site and the area. And so that clinic that we've been putting on for testing has been very beneficial. And to the next slide. So a couple of things that are changed. We are below 300 per 100,000 over a 14-day period. And so we had said that aligned with opening up last year, or I believe last January. And so I think Jewel will show you in a minute, I think we're about 291, maybe under that. So we're updating our quarantine protocols, which has been a concern. As you know, we have leaned on the side of safety with any student who had a symptom or adult having a symptom that wasn't vaccinated by immediately quarantining them for 5 days. And that has really helped us out. But beginning December 1st, we have aligned with the DOH guidance as well as Yakima Health District guidance. And the changes, probably most significant changes, will be the quarantine of non-close contacts based on symptoms. And the new guidance is not one page in length, it's about 4 pages long. And we're trying to figure out how to make that a little bit easier to read. In addition to that, it is a flow chart for everyone. Not students, not separated by students and staff, but a flow chart for everyone combined. So it's simply one flow chart, not for one and then a different one for the kids. It's an opportunity for our health services team to evaluate cases on more of an individual basis. For example, again, we're removing the 5-day mandatory quarantine for all symptoms. As you know, we were very stringent on that, and it was very consistent throughout our district. So now we're going to A symptoms as well as B symptoms, and then there's different guidance through the health department based on how many symptoms and whether you have A or B symptoms. So again, it will have our health services staff taking a closer look at what type of quarantine protocol will be in place for each individual person. We're going to, working with Kirsten, we're doing a media release on this again on Wednesday, December 1st to the whole community, as well as on our website, and most likely through Parent Square. Next chart. We do have in place on-site immunizations. We continue to work on those. We do have scheduled both the flu as well as the COVID vaccine at Adams Elementary, December 9th, from 4 to 7 p.m. We do have 2 more times slotted through Community Health and through Horizon Pharmacy, but we don't have the sites located yet. And they'll also be from 4 to 7 p.m. offering both the COVID vaccine as well as the flu shot. And just so you know, hot off the press, we do have to test for athletics as well as for activities prior to participation in events. And one of our students at Franklin in boys basketball did test positive today prior to the basketball games. And so basketball for Franklin and their intramural opponent were canceled today for this week. And again, we'll be testing prior to the games next week. So again, being able to test that quick, not have the kids play, and being able to provide appropriate contact tracing and quarantine, again, helps us keep going in person and keep our activities and sports moving forward. Any questions I can answer?
Any questions from board members?
Okay, I'd be happy to turn this over to my colleague, or Trevor, would you like to?
Yeah, Stacy, I do have one question, Barb, if you could take that off for just a sec still. Thank you. Stacy, I know that a couple of weeks ago we had a community member that shared the concerns about the length of time. And I know I spoke with at least one director here about what we were doing. So I'm just making sure that we all understand that now that it's under 300, we are at a different level, which is not as stringent. And so it would actually address the concerns that were brought up at that point.
Yes, in fact, I have connected with that parent that spoke at our last meeting and updated her on the changes that are making their way forward on December 1st, which do address her concerns connected to her students' symptom connected to COVID in the 5-day quarantine. Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think my colleague's in the dark over there.
Hey, Jewel.
Jewel, are you ready to roll?
Yep. Just got dark. That's all. I got the light back. It counts. So this is in the county. If you notice, the last 5 days are pretty even. It's because they didn't report daily cases until today, as of last Wednesday. So that's split out over the last 5 days, all at 35, which is really quite lower than what we've had. So that's really good. You notice the stair step down from daily rates per 100,000. Like Stacy said, we have 247 per 100,000 in Yakima County as of yesterday. And our 7-day rate has also dropped to 109, which is really good. I was looking forward to us to get below 100. We're close. We're getting there. Cases by vaccination status. In November, we've had 251 breakthrough cases, but 1,000 cases for people who are unvaccinated. Zip code rates again are going down. Went up a little tiny bit in 98901, but statistically it didn't change. But the others have all dropped this week. Hospitalizations are down also. We're at 20 today, and we were running, more like 25 to 30 before that. So 20 is a good number. Hospitalizations by vaccination status, again, 15 people with breakthrough cases were hospitalized, but 55 without vaccinations were in the hospital during November. This is the death rate by vaccination status. So they've changed how they put it out, but now it shows all the months of 2021. And so in November, we've had 4 breakthrough deaths and 17 deaths of people who were unvaccinated. Overall, the rate is about 84% unvaccinated versus 16% vaccinated. Who's been going to the hospital? We've had one person, 0 to 11, but our highest rate is 65 to 79 age bracket with 27. And then 35 to 49 has jumped up quite a bit this month. School age cases as of last week on Tuesday or Wednesday, sorry. Like Stacy said, they've gone down. We had 40 new students. That number has been quite a bit higher before this, and 17 new staff in the county. And over time, you see it's dropped down. K-5 dropped quite a bit this week or last week. Middle school dropped some, and high school stayed pretty much the same statistically, but it did drop a couple of numbers. And then percent of people getting the vaccine, we're at 58% initiating the vaccine sequence as of last Monday. And the difference from the beginning of the school year to now, 12 and up initiating the vaccine. And again, we don't have numbers of, they're not presenting numbers right now of how many people 5 to 11 are getting the vaccine. So 12 and up, we're at 72.5%. And then fully vaccinated, they've had both their shots. It's been 2 weeks after the last shot. 51.9% of the total population of the county. And 12 and up, that's 64.9%. My forecast, I was off a little. It went down a little further than I thought it would this week, but that's good. So hopefully the peak after Thanksgiving, as people had gathered last week to get together, that peak doesn't go up too much. So hopefully we just keep going down. I'm not sure, but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Any questions from board members for either Stacy or Jewel? Jewel, you said that they are not reporting vaccinations for ages 5 to 11. Has there been discussion either at the state board level or at the county health board level about reporting that out, or no?
I haven't seen any indications. Stacy, do you know any of that?
No, I do not know, but we meet with them every other week, Martha, so I can ask that question, see if they have any updated information around that.
It could be that because individual physicians may be administering those vaccines, that that information is a little slow getting out or is not going to be reported. So if you could ask, that would be great information, I think, for us to know.
I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you both for your timely information. I think the community and families are going to be excited to hear that the quarantining requirements are changing. And hopefully we get to keep them down at that level and don't have to go back to where we were. Thank you so much. Dr. Green?
Yes, thank you, Stacy, for the update, and thank you, Jewel. I do hope, Jewel, that you're able to keep us apprised of the Omicron variant. I know that that's there's just some talk about that right now being pretty mild, but in the next few weeks, I'm sure that we'll hear more about that, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I knew you'd be all over that, so thank you.
I am, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So next item is, and I mentioned earlier, the modified calendar and the opportunity that we had to share what's happening in the region. You may recall as a board, but maybe not, that the last time Will Surratt was here in front of us, he was preparing with our calendar committee. So I've asked for him to give us a brief update on progress or any other insight that would be of interest to the board. Will?
Thank you, Dr. Green. Hello, board members, and special congratulations to Mr. Beckett, my Southwest Rotary compadre. So yeah, I have just a brief update tonight. The team has met several times. Our dip net, if you will, out to the community on different calendar options, and feedback is healthy. We've got 5 participant groups that are currently being queried. So far, 784 participants on that thought exchange that we've had. We've had 12,833 different ratings on that in that tool. That will be open until December 19th. And then I've got some work to do with Kirsten to take all of that information and package it in a easily understandable feedback. However we package that, graphs or whatever the case may be, so that the board is apprised of how people answered and whether or not it was students or community members or parents specifically, or instructional staff or support staff. Those are the groups we queried. And I believe the YEA is also conducting their own survey per the CBA, where it says that we're going to reach out to all of our members and see what their feedback is on the calendar. This next 3 weeks between today and before we go out for winter break, I know that building administrations are busy planning and presenting to their individual parent groups and students and staff around the what a modified calendar looks like, what the purpose of intersessions are. So there's a big effort going out right now before break to make sure that we get the feedback we need to be able to prepare our option for the board for January for the first reading.
Thank you, Will. Are there any questions of the board?
Will, is the thought exchange open to school staff as well? So YEA members, for example, could weigh in on the thought exchange?
Absolutely, and they have been. Yep.
Okay, good. All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what that result is.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Will.
A pleasure.
Thank you for that information, Will. I know that there was some misinformation out there earlier. Late last week, I had heard that there was a belief that only 11 people had responded, but to hear that we are near 800 as far as responses thus far, and I believe it doesn't close for a few weeks now. So we're going to have some healthy information to sift through. Thank you for that update, Will. And I'll move on to the balancing the high school numbers. This is just a brief share out that and it's nice to have, I see we have Principal Diner here with us this evening. We did have a meeting, a group of around 9 or 10 of us, which included both of our comprehensive high school leaders, as well as our secondary leaders across the board. to mull over the issue of how numbers are influencing the services that we're able to provide as a system. As the board may recall, I mentioned about a month or maybe even longer that we had some outside organizations that were willing to provide services as a result of the extensive funding that has come from the federal government. And we were having challenges receiving those services at both of the high schools due to lack of space. So we did convene a group to come together and talk about the different possibilities of what it would take to balance the high school numbers at specifically Eisenhower and Davis, so that there wasn't such a wide variant. Currently, we're looking at a 500 student difference at both of the two schools. While I don't have anything to report to the board as far as concrete moves or suggestions, I did want the board to know that that is certainly something that we are looking at, and we will come forward relatively soon with some recommendations as to what we can do to more fully balance those numbers. So if there are people observing tonight, and I see that now we have 7, we are having conversations about what we can do to better serve our students by balancing numbers across our system. Are there any, I know I've been a little bit vague in this, but I did just want you to know that that is in the works. If there are questions that I could answer, I'd be happy to. If I can't answer them at this time, I would be happy to come back with those answers at a later date. Do you have any questions?
I have one question. It just occurred to me, has that issue and the consequences of that imbalance and the possibilities for the future been brought up with our Student Advisory Council to get their input and thoughts on why that imbalance exists and what might be done about it?
Yeah, wonderful question. We do have now the SSAC, the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, up and running. It had its first session was about 3 weeks ago, followed by an additional session around the fellowship. We are approaching the, I would say, approaching the opportunity to address that with the group. I think in the late start that it was for us to have that group convene, that it has not happened yet, but that is on our schedule to bring that, at least some of the ideas of what we can do, while we're also being very cautious about not putting items in front of the public that may need to be decided at the district level. We certainly want anything that is out there that people are weighing in on to be authentic and not be something that's predetermined. So the answer is that will be forthcoming. And thank you for that question or that comment, Director Walker. Any additional comments or questions? All right, so the last item to share with you is around the equity audit. And the equity audit, we could anticipate that we would see some outcomes around our systems, including the balancing conversation, be manifest through the equity audit. We have sent all of our data into the outside organization that is conducting the audit. And the next thing that is happening is starting on the 8th through the 13th, we will have focus group interviews that will occur throughout our district that will involve students, staff, parents, paraeducators, teachers, just a wide variety, central office personnel. And there will be an opportunity for board involvement in this process as well. We will most likely look at interviews with the board, 2 members at a time. And if we can get all of you, then it would be one person would be interviewed by himself or herself if all board members are interested in being interviewed for the equity audit. It is certainly not a requirement. We are doing focus groups with everybody else except the board because of the circumstances of convening a quorum and wanting to stay within that threshold. So that starts and starts on the 8th, ends at on the 13th, I believe. And then the full report will be ready for the board to receive in late January. Any questions about the equity audit next steps that I could answer? All right, I will turn it back over to you, President Rice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Next item on our agenda are our action items. First one is approval of Yakima Professional Technical Association agreement. Anthony Murrieta.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to find my button.
It's all right. Anthony, do you want to fill us in on the YPTA agreement?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was just trying to get my computer
Do you want me to
on
share
the
my
right
screen?
page. We've reached an agreement with the Yakima Professional Technical Association. We reached a 4-year agreement. This will provide stability for our members and the district moving forward. The increase to the 2021-22 school year is a 5%. Year 2 would be 3% or IPD, whichever is greater. Year 3, 2% or IPD, whichever is greater, and year 4, IPD. There's also been a change to this, in addition to the stipend of $150 per month for those employees who have a master's degree. We do have a group of employees that filled in as counselors in this particular group. And I would like to thank the members of the Yakima Professional Technical Association who voted on October 11th to ratify the collective bargaining agreement as amended through the tentative agreements reached below the 2 bargaining teams during the course of bargaining. I'd like to thank specifically Margaret DeLong and Anita Sosa, who are the co-presidents, Rosemary Martinez and Maria Sanchez as bargaining committee members, and Janet Beck, their WEA mid-state representative, as well as the district's team of Director Chris Miller, Dr. Jenny Rodriguez, Hilda Parra, the assistant to the assistant superintendent, and Olivia Martinez of HR. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Anthony on this agreement? Okay. 4-year agreement. That's quite an accomplishment, Anthony. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We are also dealing with a labor shortage. So this is something that I'm hoping we'll be able to correct that and be able to provide long-term stability to the district.
Thank you. The board is being asked to approve a bargaining agreement between the Yakima Professional Technical Association and the Yakima School District. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Norm, seconded by Graciela. Is there any discussion? Barb, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Villanueva. President Rice.
Aye.
Mr. Navarro Jr.
Aye.
Mr. Walker.
Aye.
Mr. Bucket.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is approval of personnel actions. Anthony?
Anthony, you're still muted.
Anthony, I can share this too.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my screens so I can have them all up. Sorry about that. What we have is the Human Resource Department submits personal action monthly, which includes new hires, leave of absence, resignations, retirements and terminations, and non-renewals of certificate employees. What we have are no new hires, no leave of absence, resignations or retirements, and one non-renewal.
Okay. All right. The board is being asked to approve this evening personnel actions for non-certificated personnel. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Norm, seconded by Graciela. Is there any discussion? Okay, Barb, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Villanueva?
Aye.
President Rice?
Aye.
Mr. Navarro Jr.?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Beckett?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next we have, I don't know, Trevor, if you want to add to what you've already said, or is this new information on equity work?
Yes, President Rice, this is actually new information or information that was brought up multiple months ago. We had conducted, as you are all aware, extensive work around understanding what equity means to us as a district, and it resulted ultimately this last year in the development and approval of an equity policy. Since that time, our work around our further work in leading a district, which the board has a tremendous role in setting the tone for what is important, not only for the superintendent, for myself, but also for the principals and subsequently the staff members as well, all the way to the classroom. So the greater knowledge that we have around how we can effectively address not only what is outlined in our equity policy, but understanding the current state of what we can do to influence and make sure that all students truly means all students is of paramount importance. Since the last year, we have seen Marcus Pimpleton, Dr. Pimpleton, move on, and the work focused around our student voice has fallen upon Marcello Scambolari, who's done tremendous work in the two of us collaborating, but mostly being led by him at this point. And yet there has been a bit of a void in the departure of Dr. Pimpleton and our opportunity to remain focused on our equity policy and what that means. So as a result, I have reached out to Aaron Jones, who you may recognize the name, having been a candidate for superintendent of public instruction, losing a very close race to Chris Reichdahl several years ago, and has since become very steeped in work around the state, but also around the nation, focusing on anything from confrontations that rise from inequitable practices to groups of students and adults that rise to a level of disruption, to simply working with boards and others on what we can continue to do and grow and how we continue to grow as a district. The work with Aaron Jones is set to begin in January, which would be a simple phone call, a 30-minute phone call with each of the board members to an introductory conversation to get to know her, to know you and understand a little bit more about your perspective and feelings around where we're at as a district. And then that 30-minute session would then be followed later with an hour-long session in person with Aaron Jones before we would then engage at a later date collectively moving forward. But since this is a new board, I did put off any of the work until we made sure that we had a new board in place or knew that we would have the board that we had previously in place. So now that that has been determined, I would like to proceed in January and have Barb Anderson reach out and schedule those appointments with each of you. So we would be talking about, again, half an hour phone call followed by an hour in-person meeting. Are there any questions or concerns that I could take at this time?
I do have some comments. So as we know, and just from my report from the WASDA conference, it seems like equity is like a living, something that's alive, right? It keeps changing and forming, and so, and I'm noticing that even at the national level, it's starting to, there's other voices in the discussion now, whether they be for or against. I mean, it's all part of the same discussion. So I'm just wondering, and I've made mention of this during our last board study sessions, is that if we can get, I know we studied the work of Kendi and Singleton, and now there are other thinkers and exemplars in the field that are have a different voice or similar voice. So I would like to hear from those other voices, those other exemplars and thinkers in the field that are, again, because this topic seems to be changing and growing, and just every month it just seems to be doing that. So so that's just, I just like to hear perspectives, different thoughts. That way, it just gives me more information to form my own thoughts, and to agree or disagree with policy making with our district, and we're doing what's best for our students. So just wanted to mention that.
I greatly appreciate that transparency, Raymond, and I do believe that is the initial purpose of having these conversations with Aaron Jones, having not worked with our district in this capacity. It's definitely to seek to understand the perspective of the board. We do not want to jump into something that is cookie cutter or designed for any other district, which is why she is requesting that we meet in this capacity to truly understand what those perspectives are. And I would hope that exactly what you shared here tonight is something that you do share with Erin, and I'm sure you would share much more that would allow her to really understand the needs of the board and how to move forward. So thank you for that.
Any other questions from board members? Okay. All right, so we can look forward to phone calls from Barb, setting those appointments for those phone calls with Aaron. Last item on our action is, I think we've already talked about this tonight too, board retreat agenda items. I know Barb is starting to put together a list based on things that have been brought up at meetings, but if there are board members who wish to ask for a specific discussion topic or general study area for consideration at the retreat, please let her and I know so that we can get that on our list. Barb, when would you like to have that information to you by? Before Christmas?
The retreat is on January 10th. So, by the end of the year, then you and I can work the first week of January to finalize it. So by the end of December.
Okay. All right. So board members, heads up, any items that you wish to have included or considered for the board retreat on January 10th. Now would be the time to start thinking about that and getting that information to us. Okay. We've reached the end of our agenda. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a need for executive session?
We do have a need for executive session this evening. I recommend 20 minutes, and it's the purpose of potential litigation. Meeting with legal counsel.
We have a requested need for executive session for 20 minutes for potential litigation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Graciela, seconded by Norm. Barb, could you take the roll, please?
Yes, Ms. Villanueva,
Aye.
President Rice,
Aye.
Mr. Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Mr. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Beckett.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Do you all want a 5-minute break before we begin?
Yes.
Okay. So in that 5 minutes, Barb will set us up for moving to executive session, and we will reconvene at 5:55. Thank you all for the time that that you took this afternoon and for the time that the board needed for its discussions. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Okay. All right. Seeing nothing, I am adjourning the meeting and we will see you next Monday. Have a good week, everybody.